Working. Let's see. Not sure if this is working, so let's try this just to go back onto. Technical difficulties again. Putting music in to cover it up. But will it work? Nobody noticed the technical difficulties. I'm going to say. Is it working? Is it working? No, it's not working on TikTok. So we're going to cancel this TikTok live. We're going to go live again. Go live again. We're going to call it the same thing. We're going to get a brand new stream key. Everything is perfect. Don't worry about a thing. Okay. Generating a new key. Entering the new key. Here we go. Add channel. Yes. And sync is good. The big question is whether or not it's going to stay good. We did a little test. The reason we had a little mess up this morning is because we were. Let's see if this is going to work. We're back? We're back. Okay, we're back on all platforms. Good morning again. And for those of you who are waiting and missed me saying everything that I said at the start of the show is welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop, that place on the internet where I answer traffic and police questions. Why? Because this is Ask a Traffic Cop, and I'm a traffic cop. My name is Sean Shapiro, and I do this social media thing where I talk to you about stuff and things. Now, I dropped the resolution today down to 720 instead of 1080, so maybe that will help us with our stream issues because we are having some problems where the audio gets out of sync. So today's a test. I may be less high def, but possibly maintain sync. We are also, what else are we doing differently? Well, I was trying to use a different browser. That's not working because otherwise it says we're AM 640 with Kelly Cotrera. I got to go delete those now. What is the story? The show is a show all about you, based on your questions. We are broadcasting on multiple platforms. You can get us on YouTube. You can get us on TikTok, Twitch, Kick, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But on Twitter, we can't actually see your questions. So if you'd like to ask us a question, and we'd love for you to do that, jump over to trafficcop.ca where you can get links on my link tree to all of our platforms. Pick your favorite one. Kick is interesting. I've got to say, I'd like to see more people on Kick because it seems to be not only good for content creators, but it's also allowing us to get conversations going. Like it's an interesting platform. So far, the quality seems good. Well, I'm interested in using it more. So if you use Kick, check it out, kick.com. Now, where is Vision Zero Enforcement Team, and what is Vision Zero Enforcement Team? They are a group of dedicated officers who change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They go into different areas of the city, focusing on the big four. What is the big four? Glad you asked. That's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Those are the driver behaviors that people choose to engage in that lead to serious injury and death. Vision Zero acknowledges that minor collisions are going to happen. There's no way to completely remove them from the realm of possibility. But the ones that lead to serious injury and death are preventable and unacceptable. So, to that, we say, here's your ticket. Don't do it. We want people to be safe every day. That's the goal. Okay. Akela Draconis started with greetings and salutations, and apparently we are good to go. Everywhere seems to be good, but we'll see what happens when we show off the Harley. So, Harley queued up, and here we go. Going to see if this messes up the sync, and it very well might. If you'd like to support Special Olympics Ontario, I would ask you to go and visit harleyraffle.ca, because not only would you be supporting a wonderful cause, but you would also increase your chances of winning a brand new Harley Davidson, a 2022 Harley Davidson Touring Street Glide. 1 ticket for 20, 3 tickets for 50, 8 tickets for 100. Obviously, that's the best deal and what I chose to spend my money on. I bought tickets because I'd like to win. I'd like to be on a new bike. I have a bike. It's been sitting in the garage, and it's been sitting in the garage insured, which is a waste because it hasn't moved since my collision. Anyway, I would actually, it moved once since my collision when it got moved to the new place because I moved. Champs Adventures, good morning to you. And good morning, Stephen Bell, who says, what does he say? He says, good morning, and I think that the laws here in London, Ontario, than they're in Toronto, Ontario. Same. So the laws in regards to the Highway Traffic Act are provincial-wide, province-wide. So the laws specific to driving, save and except for bylaws, which are municipal bylaws, well, they're going to be the same. So parking might be different, and you may have different noise bylaws that are outside of the HTA. But the HTA is province-wide. Yes, it is. We still have the magical folks, our producers, who are helping out on the good old TikTok by taking questions and transferring them into the background here. And I see lots of people. So we had that weird start. We had to restart the live. But we have Emma and Reza and Haji. Lots of folks chatting here. Al Capone. All right. Hi, is a G1 driver license allowed to operate a vehicle with an intoxicated G license passenger? That's a good question to start the day off. No, they're not. The supervising driver that is supervising a G1 must have a blood alcohol content less than 0.05, which is the point when a driver is unable to drive legally. Like if you were a driver, 0.05 would get you a 3-day suspension if you were to blow a warrant. So yeah, you have to be capable of supervising, and if you're under the influence of alcohol, you can't really supervise, and that's the whole point. A G1 driver isn't supposed to be your DD, your designated driver. They are supposed to be learning from you and be supervised. So there you go. What is HTA? So Stephen, the HTA is the Highway Traffic Act, and that's the provincial law that governs the roads, the laws of the road. That's what we're talking about. So the laws for Ontario under the Highway Traffic Act cover all of the Highway Traffic Act. Now, here's one from Haji. Is there a legal age for a child sitting in the front seat? No, there isn't. There is a guideline, a suggested age. Even on the visor, the sun visor of most vehicles, it'll say 13 years old to sit in the front seat. We would suggest 14 years old. Take that extra time. But we're talking the difference of a year. In any case, we say back seat till 14 is preferred. We want younger folks to stay away from airbags. We want younger folks to be in the safest place they can be. In the back seat is best, but that's not always an option. You may have a two-door, two-seater vehicle. Well, we're not going to say they have to walk. They can legally be in the car in any position. But if they're young enough to require or small enough to require a child safety restraint, then they should be using that. Hey, it's Sergeant Campbell, who is once again joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning again. Let me give you a microphone.
I'm going to move in kind of close.
Yes. Let me move over.
We were kind of talking about me being uncentered.
Or maybe I should be further back. Either way, we want to be more even, Stephen.
I look smaller than you when I'm on here.
You are technically smaller than me, but
I look way smaller.
maybe we're actually sort of on the same plane. So maybe I really am that much bigger. Anyway, or I can move further back, but then I can't type. So.
Yeah.
That's always the problem. Okay, we have a question, and we already answered this one. We were talking about a supervising driver being intoxicated.
Oh,
the G1.
No.
You can't do that. Chase has a question. Chase caught a big one today. He helped me out. I hit the wrong button. We were testing something out, and it said I was live with Kelly Cotrera on 6:40 a.m., which I was not.
Oh, wow.
So we fixed that. We rebooted. If you get a stunt in a different part of Ontario, would you have to get all the way back there after 14 days, or would they impound it near your residence? No, it would be impounded where it was impounded, where it's seized. Could you imagine the towing charge to impound something and take it from, North Bay to take it back to Toronto?
You know what? The impound rates in Toronto are set. We have 3 companies that bid on the rates that we use. And it's to protect citizens so that they're not overcharging. They're getting paid for the work that they're doing, but they're not overcharging. Other tow companies that are used by different police services may or may not have an agreement in effect for pricing, and it could cost you an awful, awful, awful lot in some parts of Ontario to have your vehicle impounded for 14 days.
Yes.
So,
We have a good thing going where we have these contract things, exactly like you said, to protect people. That may not exist elsewhere.
yeah, you know what? Towing costs money. The trucks are very expensive, and employing a driver with the skills to be able to do it and do it properly and do it without damaging vehicles costs money. So they deserve to get paid for what they're doing, but they don't deserve some of the practices that you see some tow companies using out there.
There are some people who are not honest, but fortunately, it is an industry that is getting better. Jap Deep says, "Do I have to identify myself with identification ID to police officer as a passenger in Ontario?" Well, the answer is it depends. See, there are times when you would have to, which would be when you are, well, even with ID, the driver has to use identification such as a driver's license. A passenger just must satisfy a police officer of their identification, which could be verbal.
It can be, as long as it can be confirmed.
It's ideal to have identification. It makes it faster, easier.
Yes. Yep. You don't need a driver's license to be a passenger, but you do have to be able to provide the information that is required under the Highway Traffic Act and be able to confirm that.
Yeah, and same thing goes for cyclists. They're responsible for identifying themselves if they're being investigated in relation to if they're riding, could be stopped and required to identify, but they aren't required to have a driver's license because there's no driver's license for them. So when would you have to? So if you're being investigated for an offense under the Highway Traffic Act, like not wearing your seatbelt, then you would have to. Then you really would have to identify. If we're just stopping you to say hello, you don't have to identify yourself. We don't generally stop people just to say hello.
No, but we could be investigating the driver, and there could be another investigation that starts because of it, where you may have to. It could be a criminal investigation. Could be
Liquor License Act. Could
be anything. Yeah,
marijuana related. It could be all sorts of things. Okay, we got some more questions.
Stuff and things.
Stuff and things. We're always talking about stuff and things. We have. Stephen Bell says, "You're a great teacher for a cop," because I didn't know that. And good morning, Sergeant Campbell.
Good morning.
This was in relation to Stephen's question about what the HTA meant. And as Sergeant Campbell often reminds me, we have a lot of acronyms, and I tend to use them, and many people don't know what they mean. So when you hear something that you don't understand coming out of my mouth, please ask for clarification, because my goal is to educate and explain, and sometimes I do that well, and sometimes I don't.
We actually had that conversation this morning because you put out a
video,
a quick video this morning, and where you used HTA, and you said you were going to go put Highway Traffic Act.
I did.
On the page.
And I'm trying to get better. I am getting better. I used to say BAC all the time without clarifying that that's blood alcohol content. And the average person would have no way of knowing that unless they were somehow exposed to our acronym-laden world.
Cop talk.
Yeah, very acronym heavy. Rhonda and Brad Carr have a question. And that question is appearing. Here we go. Hi, just tuned in. Tuned in. I can't read today either. If my husband has a DUI, can my 16-year-old son operate the vehicle with him as a passenger? Oddly enough, we just talked about this. If your 16-year-old son has a full license or a learner's permit, then yes. If you're a licensed driver, you can. If you are someone who has a learner's permit, the person must have a license to supervise.
So if your husband has a DUI, is his driver's license currently under suspension because of it?
That's
or is it prohibited? That's what I'm assuming.
Yes.
And the answer to that would be no. He needs a full 4 years experience driver's license in Ontario to be able to supervise it, and it must be valid.
Right. But if your son has a full license, G2 or better, then they would be able to drive the vehicle. But being that they likely live with you, they would have to be added to the insurance policy. That's another thing. But a separate thing, because one is dealing with the law and one is dealing with the contract between you and your insurance provider. Okay. Steph wants to know, when looking at a driver's abstract, can they see the original speed or just what it was dropped down to? So the police can see the original charge, at which point we'd be able to see the original speed, but the abstract would not show the speed.
Well, the abstract would show what you're convicted of, not what the original speed is. We would be able to look at the police records and find out what the original speed was.
And that's the biggest difference. As a police officer, I'm probably not going to be looking for great detail. Like if I'm digging into your history, I'm looking into our records. If I'm just looking to see what your convictions are, that's different. I'll look at the history. And a driver's abstract current, like from your insurance perspective, is only going to see what's current. So what's currently there is going to be within 3 years, or will come off after 3 years from the date of conviction. Whereas I can see on your abstract everything since the day you were licensed, or that you had an entry. Because technically, even before you were licensed, you could have an entry.
Yeah, they'll generate a number for you
I like it.
and register your convictions that way so that it follows you when you actually do get a license.
Okay, Michael wants to know, so many stunt driving, turn on green, circle before oncoming traffic in Eglinton and Laird area. If I join traffic services, I know how to get a toaster every week. How do I do neighborhood complaint? Neighborhood complaints. Okay, so there are different ways to notify police of issues in neighborhoods. Obviously, you can always call, but we will suggest that you go to tps.ca, and there are different ways using the core Citizen Online Report Entry tool. You can report minor criminal activity. You can report specific drivers based on their license plate and information that you have, but you can also make reports on issues in your name, driving issues, and that's what you want to do there. You generate a report that would be assigned to the division that it's in, and then they'd be able to respond and increase their enforcement activity there.
And I do like your reference to the toaster. We sometimes have competitions to see who's working most efficiently, who's working harder out there, and we call it winning the toaster of the week.
So years ago in sales positions, it was always working for the best salesman gets a free toaster or a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah,
and we joke about it. There's no quotas, but and the confirmation that there's no quotas is I've never received a free toaster or a trip anywhere. Doesn't stop me from trying to get the most tickets though. Yes, we're all competitive. We're A-type personalities. Actually, that's not true. I don't know if anyone competes for that. Really, the deal is that we're looking to change driver behavior. We're not trying to get the most tickets. They have to be meaningful tickets.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? As a supervisor, I will look at how many tickets you've written because I want to know what you're doing in your downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paid for an 8 or 10 or 12-hour day, depending on where you're out there. I want to make sure that you're doing positive work while you're out there. That could be doing some Highway Traffic Act enforcement. That could be strategic enforcement of certain places, certain people, certain things. It also is proactively just being out there and patrolling.
Yeah.
So
it is a great way to engage in the community, let people know that we're there doing stuff, paying attention. There's traffic enforcement is important, and I don't think it's acknowledged as being just as important, just how important it actually is. Oddly enough, we have a lot of bad folks who drive. Criminals drive, and when we enforce laws, we tend to find things like guns and drugs and people with warrants. Yeah, we're out there looking for stuff all the time. R Squared says or asks, is it illegal to have something hanging from your rearview mirror help settle an argument? It depends. It depends if the thing hanging from your rearview mirror is obstructing the driver's view. Just having something isn't necessarily illegal. So, my favorite example is one air freshener, probably okay. 30 air fresheners, probably not okay. One dash camera, strategically placed behind the rearview mirror so it doesn't block your view. 2 cell phones and a GPS, problem.
Yeah, and you know what? Your rearview mirror actually does obstruct your view going out. My dash cam is tucked in behind my rear view so that I have the most available area to see out.
I do the same thing. It's a good plan.
You're smart.
We are smart. Let's see here. I see. Michael is suggesting we get passenger shotgun. He calls it shotgun, riding shotgun. He says passenger licenses to protect the stagecoach. I don't know what he was going at. Okay.
Riding shotgun.
Ginger has a question. Hey, so I bought a 2021 Polaris 4-wheeler, got it insured, and then got a fine for improper mounted license plate, but there is nowhere from factory to install.
Yep.
That's a you question.
That's a me question. I have a Polaris as well, and I had to use zip ties to mount it properly until I got the box on the back, my cargo carrying box, and then I mounted it directly to there. So four-wheelers in Ontario have to be installed on the rear, where dirt bikes have to be installed on the front.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that dirt bikes even had plates.
Yeah, off-road vehicles, same as ATVs, off-road vehicle plate. It's a green lettering numbering with a white background.
That's if you're using trail systems, or is that?
That's anytime you go off your own property, you have to have it.
Okay, good to know. I did not know. If you are watching and have no idea who we are, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day on all sorts of different platforms. And if you're watching, you may or may not have seen Sergeant Campbell sitting next to me on occasion because, well, you're Sergeant Campbell.
Well, there you go.
He's the good sergeant. I've started calling him the good sergeant. I don't know why, but
I don't know why either.
you're the one who showed up, so I appreciate it. But we do this Monday to Friday most often, or at least most often it's Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. And if you've got questions, we might actually have answers. We're on a bunch of different platforms. We're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But if you're watching on Twitter, you can't actually ask us any questions, despite the fact that I see some questions left for us after the show. Please go to trafficcop.ca. Use our links to go to our other platforms so you can join us here and become part of the show, because this show is really all about you and somebody clearing their nostrils. Let's see here. We got that. Can I step out of my car? Let's see what this one's going at. Can I step out of my car as a driver when I'm stopped at a red light to receive something from the trunk of my vehicle? Oh, to retrieve something, not receive something. Well, it depends on where you're placed. That's not really a safe thing, but is it?
You're going to park your vehicle, get out, leave it unattended while you're getting something out of the trunk at a red light in a live lane of traffic? No.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
No.
What you should
Could
do
it be careless?
Ooh. Would it become a problem? Could it become a problem? Could you be charged? Yes, you could be charged for something. Depends on what the officer is seeing. Depends if you're obstructing traffic, interfering with traffic. But are there better ways to do this? And the answer is yes. You really should pull over where you can do it safely. Truth is, anything can happen out on the road, and we want to make sure you're in the safest place possible. And regardless of whether or not you can get away with it or not, more often than not, you'd probably be able to execute that maneuver safely and not being spoken to by police. But on the time that it happens and it doesn't go so well, we'd like to prevent that from happening.
Same thing with the distracted driving laws. You're able to use your cell phone in your car as long as you're lawfully parked and the vehicle is not in motion. Same thing. I would say if you're going to jump out of your car and get something out of the trunk, it should be lawfully parked, not in motion.
Well, in motion would be really skill.
Well, I have seen TikTok videos of people trying to do that.
So that's stunt driving.
It is.
That is the ghost riding or operate motor vehicle while not in driver's seat. Whether you're walking beside it or you're sitting in a seat other than the driver's seat, that would be stunt. Interesting. We have I knew BAC and HTA. I passed Sean's test. Michael gave himself a certificate. I pressed something and I don't know if it's. No, it was updating when I hit the button, so the button went on somebody else's question, so we'll just go with it. Satvir says, can a G driver drive a tractor trailer with supervision of an AZ license holder? Interesting question. Yes and no. The Z endorsement would have to be there for a G-class driver, I believe. You could do it with the A, could supervise a G, but as soon as you're into air brakes, you'd have to have a Z endorsement.
Yep, you'd have to have that prior to going out there. The Z endorsement is just a written test that you can have. So you can have a G-class driver's license with a Z endorsement. And the Z endorsement means you're able to operate a vehicle that is equipped with air brakes, for those that don't know Ontario license codes.
There you go. Which even though I knew them at one time, they still mess me up. I know that D is dump truck.
Yeah. Well, D is a certain weight class of trailer.
Is it just trailer?
So, yeah. So,
is there another code for dump truck?
So, dump truck, it's the trailer that makes the difference between an A and a D.
Oh, Well, I find it very interesting and also so interesting that I can't remember it without referencing it anymore. I knew it. I had to do it. I had to know them all for graduating, but I don't remember them all now. B is bus.
B is bus. B is big bus, actually,
Yes.
because F is small bus.
And ambulances.
And ambulances.
So oddly enough, I guess I remember more than I thought I did. Let's see here. Every industry has its own jargon. My work often is a Tower of Babel scenario. Is it Babel or Babel? Is proper pronunciation for
I
that?
think it's Babel.
Babel?
Babel?
Babel. Okay.
We tend to do that every once in a while. Just babble.
Yes. Stephen Bell says, with cops, he says, correct me if I'm wrong, but with cops, you can run, but you can't hide. Where'd that come from? Is that a movie quote?
Bad boys, bad boys.
And let's see here. Can I use driving AI, such as the Tesla autopilot, to assist me while driving? Oh, during a driving test. Radek, I think you're out of luck. I don't think that they would allow you to use any assistance in a motor vehicle. I don't even think you can rely on a rear backup camera.
Really?
Some will cover it up, from my understanding. Some testers. You should be able to operate that motor vehicle without assistance safely. And if you can't, you probably shouldn't be driving. So I would support not doing that.
And they are changing driver tests to be more specific to different types of vehicles. Motorcycles have certain endorsements on it that say if you take your test on a three-wheeled motorcycle,
You're limited to that.
You're only allowed to drive a three-wheeled motorcycle. If you're taking your A or D test on an automatic transmission equipped vehicle, you can only drive automatic or semi-automatic equipped vehicles. You won't be able to drive a standard vehicle.
And that makes sense.
So, yep.
So one day you'll be able to take a taxi and not drive a car, because you will not be able to drive without driving something that, like, because I'm talking about autonomous vehicles. If you at some point you're going to be so limited, it's going to be
As to what specifically you're
yeah.
being
You're
tested
going to
on.
be calling your Uber or automated vehicle to pick you up. There'll be no driving at all, which is very. So many people don't drive; they've just never needed it.
The day I turned 16,
Yeah, me too.
motorcycle
9 a.m.
and car,
My motorcycle was shortly thereafter, same year.
right away.
I had to work on my mom. She was not really keen on the idea of me riding, but I did eventually do that. I made it all happen. She wasn't keen on me becoming a police officer either. She wanted her baby to be safe. That was all it was all about. Hello from the Charleston County Sheriff's Office. Howdy.
Well, good morning.
It is good to hear from our friends down south. You are coming in from, where are you coming in from? Are you on TikTok? We'll have to follow you. We'll follow you and chat. Let's see what's going on here. What happens if someone gets a speeding ticket with the wrong date on it? Can you take it to court? You can take anything to court. You have the right to challenge things. Will that mean that is it a fatal flaw? If that's up to the JP or judge who's presiding, you could certainly bring it up and say, make a motion to dismiss it based on that information being inaccurate. But if the officer's there and has notes in the back, if everything else is correct, they could the prosecution could make an application or to amend.
I'm not sure if date is one of those amendable ones.
Really, it could be a fatal flaw.
I'm thinking it is.
Maybe it's a fatal flaw.
I'm thinking it is.
So many things like spelling of your name isn't necessarily fatal.
Nope. License plates can be amended.
Interesting. Maybe
section numbers can be amended. Things like that. But I'm not sure if date and time.
Now I want to know. We'll have to find out. That's curious. Can my car windshield be tinted?
Sorry, did I laugh at that?
In Ontario and most of the world, you cannot tint your windshield. People say in Florida you can, but you can't. Because I spoke to the sheriff's office in Orange County. Is it Orange County? I think it's Orange County.
I don't know. This is your story.
It's my story. It was Orange County, and they said no. They said no. They said a lot of people think they can.
Why in the world would you ever want to reduce your ability to see outside your car?
Makes no sense.
That's worse than tinted taillights.
Yeah, actually,
it is.
It is.
It really is. I'm dumbfounded by people that want to do either of those things.
It makes no sense to me, and people do the darndest things. There used to be a TV show called Kids Say the Darndest Things. We should change this to People Do the Darndest Things and review things.
For every single law that's out there,
There's a reason it was created.
there's a reason that the government said, hey, we should make a law about that to stop people from doing that.
You know, we put up the video that talked about lane splitting, and it was I had a giggle. Somebody was bouncing between cars, and it's not laughing at their fall is not nice. But I thought it was a great example as to a reason why lane splitting is not legal. The number of people arguing for lane splitting is amazing, and from all over the world, saying that it's safe, it's safer, it's better. But in places where people follow the rules, maybe it could be safe. But what we see is a widespread abuse of traffic laws in general. And then you mix that with driving between vehicles, you have a recipe for disaster.
As a motorcycle rider myself, I don't know why I should be considered more important to be able to go to the front of the line in front of everybody else.
I think that a lot of riders and especially new riders think that they need to go through that traffic because their bikes are air cooled and they don't want them to overheat. Which
Mine's
is
air cooled.
It's very much a them problem, because you should know that you have an air cooled engine and you should probably not drive in bumper to bumper traffic.
When it's super hot out.
Yeah, but
Modern ones, even the modern air cooled 1920s designed engine that's in mine, it actually has a cylinder deactivation. The back cylinder will actually deactivate at idle
to help cool.
when the temperature goes up to help cool.
I rode Harley for the Motor Squad forever, and those bikes will run in heat. They'll be hot.
Yep.
So yeah, there's no justification other than I mean I get it. You can get somewhere faster. In LA, when I was sitting in bumper to bumper traffic where lane splitting is legal, I was envious of the folks who were passing me between traffic. But even the California Highway Patrol acknowledges that it is an unsafe or a dangerous practice, and that extreme caution must be used. But it's legal there. And it's a recent thing, like 2007 or something, where it actually became legal. I watch drivers here. We used to enforce the laws here, and I wouldn't want to be putting myself between any other vehicles. Mind you, I don't want to be rear-ended by one either. So that's the argument that people are making. It's better to be squished between them than smushed from one behind. Let's see here. Is making a U-turn legal to turn where no restrictions are on intersection traffic lights? Is making a U-turn legal where no restrictions sign on intersection traffic lights? So U-turns where safe and not prohibited are legal. So where's prohibited? Crest of grade where there's no visibility, curve where there's no visibility, bridge, viaduct, tunnel, railway crossing. Those are all places where you cannot do it, regardless of signage. And then if there's a sign posted 150 meters from the sign and beyond, you are not permitted to do a U-turn. And you have to know that turning movements put you in a liability situation. If you're making a U-turn, you're responsible for what happens. If you're turning, you're responsible for what happens. The vehicle going straight is less so. And it's just so many people die in collisions related to U-turns that it is shocking. And I wish I caught it on my dash cam. I was driving north on Yonge Street. There was a vehicle at the intersection making a left turn. A vehicle passed that vehicle in lane 2 and proceeded to make a U-turn in the intersection while...
The left turn guy was making a left turn?
Yes.
That's why we have jobs.
Oh, and it was just in the dead zone between my front camera and my rear camera that I caught it just happening. I'll show it to you because I saved it. I was in awe, and what I said I had to delete because I was very, very vocal when that was happening. Yeah. Alejo wants to know, what is the exhaust sound limit in Ontario? That's an interesting question because there's many answers for that. The bylaw in Toronto, which is not what you asked about, is 92 decibels at idle, and that's a $500 fine. But when you talk about provincially under the Highway Traffic Act, there's no specific decibel rating for the charge to be laid. Unnecessary noise is the charge. Improper muffler could be the charge. So it depends. Depends on, and they're somewhat, especially when you're talking about strictly determining what level of noise is too loud. It's up to the officer and their observations. And we talk about this all the time. It's like if everyone's turning to look at your vehicle, which is probably why you're making the extra noise, that's probably a good reason to lay the charge if you're disrupting the environment. But
Yeah, and it doesn't have to actually be your exhaust. It can be just the manner in which you're running. You use the example all the time of the Honda Civic, because you pick on Honda Civics.
always.
But if you're sitting there and you're just revving it and revving it and revving it and revving it for absolutely no reason at all, and that's causing noise, that's unnecessary, and you can get a ticket for that.
A stock vehicle with behavior issues.
Yeah. Yep. Aftermarket exhaust is not always unlawful. You can put aftermarket exhaust on as long as it's compliant, as long as it's Transport Canada and DOT compliant. That may change the sound of your exhaust, but it's what you do with it that can make it excessive.
That is absolutely right.
Yep.
Question of, are there any benefits of a farm plate? I've never had one. I've never investigated one. I don't know. Other than farm gas.
So farm gas you can't use on the road.
Was that right?
Yep.
I thought it was in any farm vehicle.
Nope.
No?
The taxes aren't paid.
Oh.
My neighbor, the Ministry of Finance enforcement officer, spends an awful lot of time on farm vehicles being operated on the roadway. You can put it in your tractor, though. That's fine. The farm plate will give you tax benefits, I believe, and your vehicle can be considered a commercial motor vehicle if it's plated differently, but it doesn't have to go through the yearly inspection process or pay the higher fees, the higher road taxes.
Uh-huh. Things I did not know or really need to know about.
But you do.
But I do now.
But you do.
But I do, because somebody's going to ask me.
somebody's
So
gonna ask.
I need to know. Let's see here. What about a U-turn at a no left turn intersection? Interesting. Is a U-turn a left turn?
Yeah.
It's the first half of it. I would say that a no left turn, if you do you're interfering with the traffic there. You're creating an issue. Interesting. I don't know. You're certainly conducting a left turn before you continue to a left U-turn. So you've committed the first half. I would say don't do U-turns at no left turns.
The reason there's a no left turn is probably because the design of the roadway won't allow it for safety reasons, or the traffic flow doesn't allow you to stop traffic and wait for you to make the left turn
There's going to be no left turn lane. So when you stop and wait, you're going to be obstructing traffic.
in a live lane.
So you may be doing a bunch of different things and eligible for some extra tickets. Video calls while driving.
Hard?
No.
No.
That's going to be a handheld communication device charge because you're using your handheld communication device, even if it's mounted. I have pulled over. I'll never forget. It was at Finch near the courthouse, and I was traveling southbound, and I pulled up to a stoplight. I look over, and there's a woman who's having this very animated conversation with her crotch. And I got out of my car. I walked up and I waved and the person on the video call saw me before the driver did. They got a charge. And,
Yep,
and I had it. I was very entertained.
Yeah, I would have done the careless with that as well. If you're talking to your crotch, absolutely.
Well, they weren't in motion when I noticed them.
So no movies, no videos. The only thing you're allowed to see on the display screen is your active GPS.
Yes, active GPS, and of course you can have the lock screen, and when it rings, you can see the caller ID screen. But that's it. And the only permissible interaction with your phone is the swipe to answer or press to hang up. That's it. That's what the courts have determined. Everything else is seen as use, even if it's pressing the advance to the next song. How would anyone know if I have farm diesel in my car? Well, when they do an inspection,
They dip the tank.
they dip the tank. The gas is dyed.
Yep.
They can see the color of the gas.
Yeah. You get clear diesel, you get dyed diesel. And some people actually run stove oil in vehicles as well.
Stove oil?
Stove oil is one refining process less than diesel. Still works.
No kidding.
And no taxes because it's heating fuel. So people have done it. It's not great for your car. It'll kind of clog your injectors after prolonged use.
Sounds like a bad idea.
But people try and get away from those ugly taxes. But yes, they can tell.
Chris wants to know about what's the fine for a car not safety, but car insurance and expired Ontario temporary plate. So you're driving a motor vehicle on the road that has not been safetied, thus it's unsafe. Well, actually, it's not necessarily unsafe if it's not safe, but it's required to be safetied.
So I have had experience pulling somebody over for exactly this. And the person driving the car was actually a mechanic. Could not get his car safetied because it wouldn't have passed the back then emission controls. So he never did a safety on it. Running around on an expired temporary plate, like a plate with the T val tag back when we had validation stickers on it, and had received 5, 6 different tickets for expired plates. So when he got me, I know that he didn't have a valid safety certificate in the car. That safety certificates are issued and only valid for 36 days. Had he had that in the car, that it was done recently, I wouldn't have laid the unsafe vehicle charge. But he hadn't. He'd been driving this car, I know, for months and months and months. And I took his plates, charged him with unsafe. It went to court. He argued.
And lost.
And he lost.
Yeah, that happens.
Because I can articulate why it was an unsafe, why it was never done. He couldn't prove that it was ever done.
Well, people just doing things to avoid doing the right thing. There's a requirement for vehicles to meet a certain standard to be on the road, whatever that is, and sometimes it changes, but you must meet the requirement or you don't get to use it.
Yeah. For a temporary vehicle tag, the vehicle has to be in fit condition prior to you taking possession of it and changing it over in your name. And the temporary tag is only good for 10 days.
Yes.
And that tag is there to allow you to bring it to a repair facility for repairs or to get a certification test done.
It still has to be in good condition and safe.
Yep.
If we see a dangerous driver and report it, does anything actually happen? Yes. An actual report is created. An actual report is assigned, or the what's called a GO number, a general occurrence number, is assigned to an investigator, and they have to do something about it. They have to investigate, and there may be nothing that can happen in terms of charges, but you know what? I've sent dozens of letters to people where it's like your vehicle was notified, was observed at this date and time doing something, and there is a file, and we're building it on you.
Yep. And if you do get stopped the next time, we're going to know that this was already been reported. We may not have all the elements of the charge to lay the charge. Sometimes we do. We go and we investigate crashes that have happened previously, and we get witness statements and all that, and we lay charges out of that. When you're reporting it, you may not have all the elements that we require to lay a charge specifically.
But even if it has most of it, it's better than not reporting. I would
absolutely.
encourage people to make reports. We may have a situation where, let's say there's somebody who's stunt driving or recklessly driving all the time, and we're looking for that little bit of information to go together with our full case. Maybe we have a case that we're working on, and your report is just the extra icing on the cake.
The nail?
I was going to say it, but I chose against it.
The nail.
It's the nail.
The nail.
To nail them.
To nail it down.
Colton wants to know, what happens if you're driving with an expired license? Well, you're driving without a license because when it's expired, it's no longer valid. Thus, it doesn't exist. You would need to renew it for it to be valid and drive. So you're also not insured when you're driving without a license. Your insurance company would deny your claim. At least I imagine they would, because why would they insure you if you're not?
If you chose not to. Yep.
Yeah.
They do some pretty neat things with your expiry dates. It's usually, depending on if you're a new driver, when you, for a period of time after you get your license, and after that, they pick a day, a random day,
Like
that's really important to you,
easy to remember.
easy to remember.
Usually about 5 years from the last time.
People give you gifts, maybe give you a cake.
Christmas?
No. Some companies it's the end of the year, but most people it's your birthday.
Yes, it is fiscal year. Actually, it's not necessarily the December, but whenever their taxes or books get filed for corporations, it's their fiscal year, and it's your birthday for you. So yeah, if you're expired, you're not licensed. Small dog. A small dog stay on your lap in the passenger seat, or no, there's no or. A small dog stay on your lap in the passenger seat. So if you're not the driver, can a dog be in your lap? Yes.
Yep.
If you're the driver, no. Is it a good idea for a small dog to stay on your lap? That's a different question. Small dogs and airbags on collisions, bad. You know, we don't want kids in the front seat because airbags deploy at roughly 200 kilometers an hour, and when When they hit small children, they do damage. On small dogs, they launch them or crush them,
Yeah.
or both. And when you are between it, and bones can be pointy and could be actually, they could hurt you.
Why would you want to do that to your dog?
Well, there's that too. Back seat, tethered or crated is the suggestion by all those involved. Okay. We talked about farm plates. What's this? Do I have to let a car merge on the highway if they don't have their turn signal on? Have to let them merge. We can't actively prevent them if you're speeding up and trying to stop someone from changing lanes or merging. That could be stunt driving. That's kind of in the description there.
But no, you don't have to actually let somebody merge in. The obligation is on the vehicle merging to do so safely and to do so when they can. You don't act. It's courteous.
But you can't
It's
prevent
responsible.
them. So if there's room there to do it safely, and you decide I'm going to
speed up and
speeding up and doing it different. But if you don't have to make space for them, they can slow down and wait for the next opportunity. But it is a courteous thing. I really am a fan of zipper merging, and every other car gets in. And what benefit is it to, like, just because they're not signaling? Yeah, they should signal. Yeah, they're legally required to. If you know what they're intending to do, just let them in. Be the bigger person.
it causes road rage. I have an example of where I was coming down the Don Valley Parkway, which is a 3-lane highway. I watched a vehicle that was in the far right lane continue on while a car was trying to come up and merge. He didn't let him. He didn't have to. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He just stayed at his constant speed. Well, the vehicle trying to merge got upset. He needed to put his brakes on because he came to the end of the merge lane. He went out around, horn blaring, sped up in front of him and cut him off.
No.
Guess what?
What happened?
Guess who got tickets?
I imagine the people who did that to the police car.
No, it wasn't the police car.
Oh, okay.
I was driving right behind him, and I caught it all on camera. And yeah, he got multiple tickets.
Which is good. I like that. I like it when people who break the law are held accountable. I just have this thing.
Yeah, it was a road rage. It was an angry. He did it because he was angry.
Emotions have no place in driving. They really should. You should check them at the door.
Yeah, I agree.
When you mix anger and an inability to manage your emotions, bad things happen. Following up on the whole plate thing, Kitchener says that they've never had anyone check their fuel ever. So,
Well, they're government agencies out there. I know there's not an awful lot of them out there, but they do certainly do it. My neighbor being one of them, and his area of responsibility is quite large. Anything diesel, he's all over it.
interesting. Okay, we got a couple of good questions. It looks like only a few minutes left, and we didn't do any dad jokes yesterday, so I'm sure I've got a few. If I've missed your question, and I haven't even gotten to your question yet, we have a bunch. We're going to try and do this. About how many are there here? It's a bunch. 15. Once they're done, we're going to move on. If I didn't get you, please come back tomorrow, ask again, because we're going to do this again tomorrow. So that's kind of what we do.
I won't be here tomorrow, but
You won't be here tomorrow?
I won't be here tomorrow.
Okay, we covered this one. Do I have to let people merge? Can you get a second no front license plate ticket while waiting for your first ticket to be appealed?
Certainly.
Yeah. If you are actively committing an offense, regardless of how many times you've been charged. In fact, if you've been charged before, I will likely not just give you a ticket, but I'll probably give you a summons to court because you're not learning your lesson.
For you to explain to the justice of the peace why you haven't fixed
Corrected
the
the
situation.
issue. Because you're guilty for the event, or at least you're being held responsible for your actions. You're being charged for what you did. Just because you challenged it in court doesn't mean you can continue doing it until you've been convicted or the charges are dismissed. They're two separate events. You could be charged twice in the same day. You could be charged unlimited number of times.
You can get charged in the next minute if you continue doing it.
Yeah. So if you need to resolve the issue, and technically, if you don't have the front plate, you should get it towed home.
Technically,
Can't
yeah.
drive it. But to continuously do what you're doing, not good. Now, if you were on the way to the mechanic shop to get the bracket fixed, and you had the ticket in hand, and it was dated today, and you could explain to the second officer who pulled you over for the same reason what you were doing, and it's feasible, could you get a warning? Possibly, maybe. Depends. Chewbacca. Is there a fee to replace a license plate? We've got a lot of license plate things. Is there a fee to replace a license plate? I've seen many people drive with very old or discolored plates. Yes.
Depends.
Depends.
You could get it replaced. There is a warranty for certain series of plates.
I was going with old and discolored. That was my for yes. But you're right. There's a 5-year warranty on plates, if it's within the 5 years, and it should be replaced under warranty. They may or may not accept the exchange if it's not a defect or issue that they accept, but that's up to them. And otherwise, it's $52.
Which is less than half the price of the ticket.
Is it less than half? It's
$110 ticket.
yeah. Less than
That's math.
half. Yeah, not my birthday. Okay, we covered this one. Do I need a driver's license to drive a dirt bike?
Depends.
On private property that you own? No. On private property that is a track? No. Because if you have children on tracks, where would you need to have a license?
Crossing a road.
Who?
Crossing a road.
Crossing a road.
Crossing a road at a 90-degree angle.
Which is the only time you can be on the road.
Yep. On a dirt bike, yeah.
So you must have a license to cross the road.
Yeah. When I was younger, in my younger years, I used to stop, jump off, put it in neutral, push it across the road, jump back on again, continue on going.
Someone asked me many moons ago if you could jump across the road. That would be...
You wouldn't technically be on the road, would you?
No, but could you even do them for stunt? Because that's definitely a stunt.
Well, yeah. Well, the front wheel has to be, all wheels have to be in contact with the road. Can't
Well,
wheelie.
but no wheels. Jump.
Yeah.
If they launched from Dukes of Hazzard style. Anyway, yeah. Are different police service case records shared with other police services?
Yep. We're friendly.
We have amazing communications tools, and sometimes it's stuff that very often we get it. We look for it, we ask for it, we get it.
And it's getting better and better all the time. I can have a jurisdiction's police record, the full thing, within seconds.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What about doing donuts in a parking lot in
Sorry.
winter?
Sorry, you're talking about stunt driving? Is that what you're saying?
It sounds like they're talking about stunt driving. Private property in Ontario is not a safe haven. You can still be charged under the Highway Traffic Act for stunt driving in donuts or spinning around in circles or drifting or wheelies or burnout. All these things are all covered under stunt driving. You can be charged, which means you're still going to get a 14-day impound. You're still going to get a 30-day suspension, regardless of the fact that you're on private property.
Private property, public property, anywhere. It goes so far as saying fields, beaches.
Underground and above ground parking lots, everything.
Yeah, everything. So, and the reason that changed, and it changed fairly recently, is because people are doing it.
Doing dumb stuff.
And when they do dumb stuff, they make a law about it.
It's funny how that works. Is getting into a collision, I had to correct that, in a parking lot considered under the 50-50 rule, even if it's not your fault? We investigate and where investigations take place, but ultimately the insurance companies duke it out to figure out who's at fault. If someone is turning and someone's going straight, chances are the person turning is going to be the one at fault. But your insurance company pays for you. Their insurance company pays for them, which is generally how the whole discussion goes. And then subrogation. They determine backdoor dealing, who pays back the company who's less at fault.
But if you get into a collision in a parking lot, most likely you will not be charged with an offense because it is parking lot
True.
property.
HTA, the HTA doesn't apply. The Highway Traffic Act doesn't apply for most things, unless you're stunt driving.
Unless you're stunt driving or you have the wrong plates on or stuff like that.
Or fail to remain.
Yep. Fail to remain, fail to report.
All those things. So certain things, yes, but yeah.
Yes, but yeah.
Yes, but yeah.
Yes, but yeah.
It's a new word. Kalina, I think I pronounced that correctly. What about license plate tint? I seen one the other day. It was blue. The answer to that is simple. No. No.
Hard no.
You are not allowed to put anything on your license plate.
Even
Tint,
clear.
Clear, curved, borders only, favorite Ford dealer's name, doesn't matter. You cannot put anything on your license plate. It is obstructing the plate. It is a $110 fine. Don't do it. In fact, if it's something that is designed to interfere with police and their ability to read your plate, or if it's for tolls,
Yep.
There's other charges that can be laid as well.
Multiple charges for that. Confuse identity, change. The color of your plate makes a difference. The color of the writing on your plate makes a difference. Blue writing on a white background versus black writing on a white background in Ontario is two different classes of vehicle plates. And that makes a difference. And if you're putting a blue one on there, how do you tell the difference? If you're changing colors, how do you tell the difference?
Yeah, it does confuse the identity. Is bad. How often is a safety check required? When does it expire, and how often should we get it certified? Generally speaking, vehicles only need to be certified when there's a transfer of ownership. Generally speaking, if a police officer determines that your vehicle is unsafe, you may have your plates seized, and you may be required to do a new certification. That's separate, a new safety check. There was discussion about having regular checks brought into the game. That has not happened yet. They were discussing doing that when they got rid of the emissions testing.
Yep. Other jurisdictions, you are required to do an inspection every year. Commercial motor vehicles are required every year. You know the cars with the trucks with the yellow sticker up
The
in the
device,
window?
they call it a device,
Yep.
yes.
They're required. Trailers, the same thing. Commercial vehicle trailers. Passenger cars, no. Motorcycles, no. It's not required. It's a good idea.
Sure,
I
you want
kind
to
of
know.
like it. I don't like paying for it, but
No.
it's a good idea to make sure your vehicle is
But
in.
so many places, so many dealerships and mechanics will come in and say, we're changing your tires. You can also pay X number of dollars and do a 72-point inspection, where they usually find reasons to take your money. But it's actually not a bad idea to have things checked out, because if you just keep driving and you wait till it makes noise and then wheels fall off, you are responsible to ensure that your vehicle is in good working order. And if you hurt someone or you cause damage, if it falls apart, you're going to be getting a boatload of tickets.
Yep. I do most of my own maintenance and repairs on all my vehicles. It gives me a great opportunity to get in there and check things. Double check, have a look at the brakes, have a look at stuff. I service my brakes every spring after the winter time, make sure they're looped and sliding properly, things like that. It's a great time to get in there and just say,
Look
"Ooh,
around.
it's getting close."
Yeah, these things don't take care of themselves.
No, they don't.
They do deteriorate, though, and these are all there's so many consumable items on your vehicle. You got to keep an eye on them, like checking your fluids and making sure your wheels are snugly, like torquing your nuts, things like that. Motorcycle helmet covers. It doesn't interfere with a helmet. How's the law work? Which kind of cover are we talking about? You changing the shell of the helmet? Are you adding a camera mount? Are you painting it? Technically speaking, anything that you change on the helmet from the way it was tested to get certified is a modification of the helmet, and it's no longer covered by that certification unless it's improper. You may be referring to the fuzzy, Pikachu covers that I covered or discussed in one of the videos I put up. That changing the shell,
Exterior shell?
the exterior shell of the helmet will change the way it reacts to the road. And people say, well, it'll just shred on impact. Maybe, and maybe it'll snap your neck like a twig when you make impact. And people say, well, it's not going to happen because when I was in my leathers and I flew off a I was racing and I flew off and it just shredded my leather. Yeah, your leathers on your butt or your back or your arm are different than leathers on your neck. You just can't. There's safety regulations for a reason.
I can't tell that you're passionate about that.
I've argued it a lot.
Yeah.
I had I had a retired police officer from another province write a letter to the service saying, I'm wrong.
That was about the GoPro mount.
It was,
Yeah.
but still related to helmets. And they were. I said, you can't have a GoPro mount on a helmet. And they were fuming mad. And they wrote a letter to the chief, which got down to, and you know what? I was not wrong. We wrote him a very nice letter back. We are not wrong, with case law to support it. Anyway, is it possible for a police officer on a motorbike to make an arrest? They're police officers, and take someone into custody, or is it limited to officers and police cruisers? So here's this magical thing: we have a vehicle, we have a radio, we have handcuffs, and we have friends with cars. So if I were to on a motorcycle arrest somebody, I'd be phoning a friend to bring transportation.
We have police officers working in the city of Toronto that are on ATVs, horseback, motorcycles, bicycles, all have the powers of arrest, and we just call somebody to transport.
Absolutely. That it happens more often than not. We have people on bicycle. We have people on foot. The arrest is separate from transportation. We even have court services, which are magical people driving prisoner transportation vehicles. We have special constables who can transport prisoners.
Yep.
We have all sorts of options, all ready and willing to help us out when we need it.
If there's a potential that, say, a mass arrest happens, we call in a wagon. And the court services wagon will come in and take multiple people and take them back to the division.
Yes.
Yes.
So many different ways. We got a compliment.
Oh, yeah?
The best live stream around. The Shapiro Campbell Show has great information, great personality dynamics, and dad jokes. Speaking of which, it's that time to change gears and talk about that. Do we? Wait. There's one thing that I have to address before I do that, which is this one I just caught. What are the rules for NIU electric scooter 32-kilometer speed? Do we have to register it? NIU is an acronym I don't have an answer for. If you're talking about an electric kick scooter, 32 kilometers an hour is over the 24 kilometer an hour legal maximum under the pilot, which means it's not legal for the road. If you're talking about an e-bike and it qualifies as an e-bike, then 32 kilometers an hour is permitted. No registration will be required, but it has to conform to all of the regulations surrounding e-bikes. So I would suggest you go to trafficcop.ca. At the bottom, I have a bunch of links, and there are the guidelines for both the e-bike and the e-kick scooter for you to peruse at your leisure.
And is it possible to register an e-bike?
It is not. There
Well,
is
it
no.
is.
Where? As a bicycle?
Well, no, you can register it as a motorcycle
You can? No
as,
VIN?
as long as a VIN is issued for it, the safety compliance sticker is issued for it. You change your brakes, you change your tires, you change your horn, you change your...
It's a home-built motorcycle at that point.
You would have to spend so much money to register it. It is possible. Harley Davidson makes an electric motorcycle. Others make electric motorcycles, so it's possible.
So you have to go through all the qualifications of that of a
It
motorcycle.
would cost you a fortune to do.
Yeah. So it's unlikely. You can't just walk to the store or you can't just walk into a police station or an industry office and say, I'd like to register my e-bike. As it is from the factory, you would not be able to register it. It would be a process. And for those who modify their e-bikes to really be motorcycles, because if it goes if it's capable on a flat surface of going more than 32 kilometers an hour under power, or an e-kick scooter capable of going beyond 24 kilometers an hour, well, they're motor vehicles, and they don't get the benefit of the legislation. They're considered motorcycles or motor vehicles. They revert to their original status, and they would need all of those things. So they're just prohibited from the road.
Including insurance, which is the $5,000 fine.
$5,000 to $25,000 and up to
Right.
6 months in jail.
Right. First offense, $5,000.
Yes.
Minimum.
I like it. I think that covers all of the ones we had.
Yeah?
Oh, I have a 1932 Highboy Coupe. Do I need fenders? 1932. Did it have fenders when it was manufactured? I think that would be the deal.
Well, you know what? You look at some of the modernized T-buckets that are running around with open fenders. Yes, if it's manufactured now, it requires it. If it was manufactured back then and did not require it at the time, as long as it hasn't been modified, re-registered, you'd be good to go.
Oh, I was saying we're going into dad joke mode, but there's a couple of good questions here. Tandem towing. Laws on towing a boat behind a camper being towed by a truck. Ontario.ca doesn't say much about it.
It changed.
It changed again?
No, it changed. It used to be as long as the weight limitations were satisfied.
So motorhomes could do it.
So the first vehicle, the first trailer had to be attached by fifth wheel.
Okay.
The next trailer behind it could be attached by proper means, a ball and hitch. That changed in Ontario a couple of years ago, where as long as you satisfy the weight rating, you can tow two in a row.
So that would be like, for instance, is it A-class motorhomes?
So no, we're talking a truck with a camper with a boat.
If the truck pulling, because I understand pickup trucks wouldn't qualify.
Pickup trucks do qualify.
They do.
They do. Passenger vehicles do not.
Okay.
So your minivan does not qualify.
Interesting.
But your pickup truck with a commercial plate on it would.
With a commercial plate.
With commercial plate, personal use.
Okay. Interesting, because that's definitely something that I've had different answers. I've been giving different answers on based on the previous requirement.
Yep. Lots of confusion around that, but it was changed to allow it. Now, you have to make sure that it's a safe combination of vehicles. You have to make sure that all your lights are working on each section of trailer. You have to make sure you don't exceed the length. You got to make sure you don't exceed the weight. And you have to make sure your class of license allows you to do it.
and then don't hit anything.
Yeah, they're tough to back up.
Ooh, I can't even imagine.
The,
I would say it's not for the average driver.
Going straight is not so bad. Trying to back up a tandem is tough. If you ever seen dump trucks trying to do it with a pup in behind there, some people are really, really good at it.
I would not be one of those people.
And I'm fairly good at reversing trailers.
A regular trailer I can do.
And
Two would
that one's tough.
Malou, I can't pronounce your username. I don't know if it's multiple words together. I'm not going to try. Is it illegal to tint all windows on my car? And if not, what percentage is legal? It is not legal to tint all the windows in your motor vehicle. You can have no tint on the front windshield. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. When you talk about the windows directly left and right of the driver, you can have a limit up to 30% for safety. But if you are making it so dark that because it's dark outside or whatever the conditions are, I can't see you as the driver. I can't identify the driver. I can't see if you're wearing a seatbelt or using your phone. That's too dark, and you're obscuring the interior of the motor vehicle, which makes it illegal. But the rear windows, the absolute back window, the cargo windows, if you're in an SUV, and the rear passenger windows can be tinted. They can be completely opaque. Think about a cargo van.
As long as you have a mirror.
As long as you have a clear view to the rear by mirror. Yeah. Which I guess should be amended to say, or video, because new cars are coming out with video cameras too, in lieu of mirrors. I see people going around school crossing guard every day. What are the penalties? Are they if you disobey a crossing guard? I don't know what the fine is offhand, but it's going to be a good one. I would assume it's $4.90.
I would say it's dangerous.
Dangerous driving?
Because if a crossing guard is out there, they're out there for the safety of the pedestrians that are crossing.
So you go criminal dangerous.
If you're deciding to go around and putting people in danger, yeah, absolutely.
So if you have a location where this is happening every single day, please report it using tps.ca and go to the online reporting or call the local division, because that is truly dangerous. And I would hope that the school crossing guard would report that as well, because that's unacceptable.
I have yet to meet a school crossing guard who stands out in the middle of the road just for the fun of it.
Yes.
That's their job.
I did, however, and I've got to make a phone call about this. I went through an intersection, or I approached an intersection. No, it wasn't. It was in front of a school, and there was a crossing guard there. I assumed there was a crossing guard because he was wearing the green or the Dayglow green jacket. He had no stop sign in his hand, and he was directing traffic. Stopping, but no. I would assume that the stop sign is a requirement of a crossing guard.
The lollipop? I don't know.
Yeah, I got to look into that. I got to make a call.
Yeah, I did say lollipop too.
What are your thoughts about manual cars? Are those drivers generally better or worse than automatic?
Love it.
The cars are fun to drive. Are the drivers magically better? No, there can be crappy drivers behind the wheel of a standard vehicle too.
I tend to think, and it's probably not backed up in data, that drivers who drive manual cars are more in tune, more connected to your car, have a better understanding of what's going on on the car, as opposed to somebody that puts it in drive and
Snoozes.
Everything happens for them.
A good driver, though, someone who chooses to have a manual transmission, is someone who wants to drive, isn't someone who's just trying to get somewhere or save $1,500 on a transmission change, or by having manual. In fact, some people are paying more for manual transmissions.
Yep.
I got a buddy of mine, Rob. In fact, he hasn't changed his vehicle. He had to import a vehicle from another province, I think, because he will only drive a standard, and they are so hard to get now.
I get it.
He has a Subaru, and he had to have it like imported. Before that, he had a Mercedes, and it was only it was the last year that they made us manual. They're stopping the manufacture of them. Nobody wants them. But they're even a lot of the high-end sports cars are Tiptronic or electronic manuals.
Tiptronic's it's a brand name, but
it's a Porsche thing.
The flappy pedal.
Flappy pedal.
That's what I call it.
I like that. Okay.
I think that's a Top Gear thing.
Flappy paddle?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
I used to
Jeremy
really,
Clarkson, the flappy paddle.
I used to really enjoy that show. Oh, is it?
By the way, while you're on that,
Yes.
the Grand Tour, which is the
replacement?
last show, is coming out on the 16th.
I'm way behind.
For those of you that like it, so this is Chaos in Europe, I believe.
I got to watch all of them. I need a lot of time. I need to take like a year off and just catch up on television. Jessica wants to know if it's legal to have red and blue blinking light tire valves. I'm not a fan of these things. If you do put them on, make sure they're not made out of aluminum because that reacts with the brass of your valve stem and bonds permanently, and it's a bad thing when you're trying to fill up a tire and you have to get it towed to a service shop.
Look at you and your sciencey stuff.
Sciencey stuff. But blinking red lights and blinking blue lights are prohibited colors. Intermittent flashes of red light. Now, when it's flashing and it's in motion, it probably doesn't. It creates probably a solid appearance, but don't have blue and red flashing lights on your vehicle anywhere.
No red to the front.
No red flash. I don't even think it's just red to the front. I think it's intermittent flashes of red light anywhere.
Right, but no solid red
For sure, yes.
anywhere to the front.
True. Messing with these things that look cool on private property are really troublesome on the road and cause people a lot of confusion and draw attention from drivers, even if it's not specifically illegal, because you could have, purple or, no, I'm thinking of all the colors. Orange? You could have orange. Orange is a safe color, but it still distracts people and could cause someone to be looking at it and drive into you. So you may be asking for
Personal
collisions.
opinion, I don't like them.
No, I don't like them either.
Not cool.
But I would specifically stay away from red, green, and blue, which covers the RGB spectrum. Yeah. We talked
That's
about
why
this.
they called it an RGB spectrum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Let's see here. We talked about this. Oh, we have Radek is giving us a compliment. This is the best live stream. I watch it whenever I can. P.S. You should turn these live streams into podcasts. Guess what? These live streams are being held on YouTube for replay, and you can go onto YouTube and listen to them through the YouTube Music app as podcasts. Now, we've been tossing the idea around of putting it on Apple CarPlay and all that stuff, or Apple Podcasts, because we have a podcast, although we haven't had an episode recently. We do have a podcast called TPS Traffic Jam, and but we could take these. The problem is editing. Time for editing is, well, it's a lot of time. So if it was leaving it unedited and just sharing it, which is what we're doing on YouTube, it's no problem. But maybe we should be uploading these elsewhere. I think we'll have to do that. Why not?
Good idea.
Can't hurt.
Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, we really went long. There was a suggestion, just a comment. Kitchener says if Ontario actually made good quality plates, we wouldn't need to get plate protectors.
100% agree.
Yes, however, that does not mean that you can have you still have to conform to the rules.
Yep. But I agree.
Yes, that's not the I didn't want to press this one. Why did I press this one? Okay, but yes, 100% agreeing. Can I have strobing tow lights on my personal truck for when I tow my track vehicle or boat? When you're driving, you shouldn't be flashing your lights. Tow trucks should be using their lights when they're at the side of the road hooking up.
Yep.
When they're towing, we don't want you running your lights.
Why in the world would you water down the effectiveness of flashing lights that warn of a hazard if when you're towing your track vehicle or boat, it's not hazardous? And if it is hazardous, you shouldn't be towing it.
Right.
So is there a need to? No. Is there a detriment to everybody else that's out there working with flashing lights because there is an actual hazard emergency on the roadway? Yes, you water it down so people just get used to it. It's like cop shows on TV. They run around with their flashing lights on all the time, but we don't do that.
But it's like what is that Cry Wolf story?
Yeah.
The boy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cried wolf.
Yeah. So no, don't do it.
The Grinch says we should get a volunteer to edit. I'm sure we would find one. We probably would, but that gets into all sorts of other stuff. And I'm sure somebody could create a fan page and edit and put them up, and that would work because it wouldn't be us doing it. And if it was just fans doing it themselves, that would be cool. Speaking of fans, if we had fans who were artists and wanted to create show art, cover art, that's something we talked about doing. It'd be cool. Maybe someone who draws, makes animations. Maybe we could put up a new thing in the background.
That would be cool.
A lot of podcasts, a lot of shows have fan art, and we'd love to celebrate the talented people that we know and that listen to us. Do the Amish are they required to have safety triangles on their buggies? I believe they are. I think they do have to have slow-moving vehicles
Slow-moving vehicle and a red light.
and a red light.
And a red light.
I did not. Oh, here we go. Fan page. There he says Grinch. Every time I go to press one, another one comes up. Can I put my license plate on my dash? My license plate holder mount is broken. Will I get a ticket?
Yes,
you'll
and
get
yes.
a ticket.
And you may get a license plate come flying off and
I call it the Ontario Shuriken. It is a surefire way to get hurt in a collision because that piece of metal is somewhat sharp, especially when it's being thrown at you after
Because of a collision.
Yeah, and
Yep.
potentially airbag helping it. It's just a bad idea. Don't do it. It does not meet the requirements of law as being displayed. Zip ties on your front end, best way to go if you've got nothing else, at least until it's fixed. Or get a tow hook adapter. That is another solution that works and meets the requirements. And
That's it. We're done.
last one.
We're done.
It's right there. It was just this. Oh, that's not the one I want. That one came in afterwards. How much is permitted to go over the posted speed limit? How much can you speed?
Depends what day it is, I think.
Is this Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays?
I thought it was Tuesdays and Thursdays you're allowed to speed.
0. You're not allowed to speed at all. The posted maximum is the maximum, not the suggested minimum, not the average. It is the maximum speed permitted on that road. And anything over, even a kilometer, is technically speeding. Thus, you can be charged for it. And in terms of your conviction rating, it's a conviction for the charge. The speed that you're traveling at is only for calculating the fine. So if I give you a ticket for 15 over, or I ticket you for 49 over, demerit points and money changes, but the conviction for speeding is the same.
Yep, 1 kilometer over is speeding.
It is. Dad, did I say this one? Dad, can I go to the fair with my friends tonight? No, I grounded you for 2 days. I grounded you 2 days ago, remember? No fair. Now you're catching on. The delivery stunk.
Yeah.
It's just too long. It's too long a dad joke. Where do pigs like to relax? In hammocks. Hammocks. Remember when plastic surgery was taboo? Now, if you mention Botox, no one even raises an eyebrow.
How come so many people are hanging around the volcano?
I do not know.
Because it's lavable. Lovable.
Now I know. What's scaly, big, and can eat more nights than a dragon? So stupid. 2 dragons. It's so stupid.
That's not bad. That is a dad joke. Yeah.
My favorite one was yesterday. I even told it to my wife when I got home. It was the for the person. It was Zombie who didn't show up today for some reason. The joke was. For the person who took my Microsoft Office, I'm coming to get you. You have my word.
Yep.
I love that. That was fantastic.
That was good.
June 13th, we're catching up. Dad, can we go camping this summer? I don't think so. It might be too intense.
Intense?
Intense. It's not so good. And finally, Wednesday the 14th is, my wife said it was a waste of money to buy a 4-foot wide frame for our wedding photo, but I think she should look at the bigger picture.
Okay, I like that one.
Okay,
I like that one.
I'm done.
There, Liza Jane, are we good?
Hopefully that met the requirement. Yesterday we totally forgot, and of course today we went 22 minutes over. So we're out. We're done. We're back tomorrow. There won't be a show on Friday, so tomorrow is the Friday light show. Yes, but that's what's happening. So back tomorrow, and we will see you at 10. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
And of course, the song.
Well, gotta have a song.
It's an important song.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I would think you would think that I get tired of that song, but no, I don't get tired of that song. I need to answer a question for Carolina. I pronounced it once upon a time properly, but I've not done it today. What are the laws for self-driving Teslas? Does someone have to be in the driver's seat? Why can commercial vehicles have no driver? That's a question that came on from Instagram. I totally ignored Instagram. My apologies. The answer to the question is simple. Self-driving Teslas aren't true self-driving. They're not autonomous modes that are permitted to be operated without a driver in the driver's seat. They're a level 2.5, maybe 3 on the 0 to 5 index that's been adopted. Level 4 and 5 are not permitted for anyone outside of people using a pilot project requirement, which means to be authorized and applied for. There's only 2 people in the province of Ontario who can have level 4 and 5 vehicles on the road right now, and one of those is a company working with Loblaws. They have 4 trucks that are on the road. 3 of them are level 4. 1 of them is level 5, and the 3 of them have to have a level 4 means a driver must be in the driver's seat. Level 5, they have someone in the passenger seat who can take over or at least hit the kill switch, and they also have remote supervision. And when you talk about Teslas, they need you to check in regularly with the steering wheel because they are not truly autonomous. They're full self-drive, which is sort of just a driver assist mode. It's a beta piece of software, and it is technically permitted, but you are totally responsible for everything that vehicle does. And if you're not in the driver's seat, it is stunt driving. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry for forgetting about Instagram while I was so busy having fun with Sergeant Campbell. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Have a great day.